One thing we talk a lot about when we talk about health transformers is this never give up mentality. But let me make the case that there's a little bit more to that. I believe that you can't give yourself the choice to give up. My wife likes to remind me a lot that when we're with our children, you don't give yourself the choice to switch off. You have to be present. You have to be all in all the time. And I think as entrepreneurs, we can't give ourselves the choice to give up. And further than that, we actually need to condition ourselves and train ourselves to push through adversity and never give up. So my story as an entrepreneur started when I was really young. I was one of those kids that would make business cards and flyers for my parents' friends, and I eventually taught myself Visual Basic and Pascal and started writing software. I have this great memory of going up to my dad when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and I was so proud that I didn't tell anybody I did this. I built some software and put it up online, and I sold it, and I got a check in the mail, and my dad was so proud of me. So when I got into high school, it made perfect sense to start a business. It was the dot-com boom. I spent my mornings in the computer lab coding away, and in the afternoons basically avoiding my teachers and skipping class and taking calls from customers. It was the best time of our lives. In fact, in the summers, we used to have teams of engineers working in our parents' basements on 3 different startup ideas at the same time. It was a real in-house incubator. And when it made sense to go to college, I had parents that supported me, and we decided not to do it. I said, I'm going to skip that college thing. My brother likes to think that he recruited me, but I really recruited him to join me, and we started a company together. We raised a bunch of money. We started hiring people. Those were the days. It was startup life. We ate a lot of junk food. We worked our asses off. We worked day and night, but it was a lot of fun. And then things changed. One weekend, we decided to go home for a family event. We almost didn't go, but last minute, we made the trip. And on that weekend, my dad had a heart attack. My dad was a big part of our startup. He was our first angel investor. He was the guy who told us to continue pursuing our dreams, even though we had an opportunity to sell the business early on. He was, in essence, our third co-founder. And in 36 hours, he was gone. As entrepreneurs, we all have choices. We get to choose what we work on. We get to choose who we want to work with. Some choices are small and reversible. Some are big choices and they change your life and your business. But there's one choice that we don't have, and that's that choice to give up. After my dad died, we had a choice in front of us. We could wrap up the company, try to sell off the assets. I'm sure our employees and investors would understand. After all, our mom needed us back at home to take care of things. You know, that company, we always knew if it failed, we could always go back home, move into our old child bedrooms and regroup and maybe go back to school. What's the worst that could happen? We could lose a couple of years. But now that safety net was gone. We didn't have a choice anymore. That adversity conditioned ourselves to never give up, to not even think about giving up. So we continued on. We built that business. We hired more people. We built that first software version, and we got it out there. We started selling it. We started getting customers, and it was great. We were making money. And then the market crashed. And if anybody tells you doing a startup is easy, that's a fantasy. It was never easy. We had to pull tooth and nail every month, every quarter to make that company work. We must have flipped our management team 3 times. I can't even remember how many times we changed our sales model, but we pulled through after 6 years of trying to grow that company. We finally got to the point of around 50 employees. We had a few thousand customers, and a big public global software company came along and bought our company. And even that, we had to slog through. Nothing is easy. It was a roller coaster event. And just a side tip for us entrepreneurs, when a big customer or strategic partner says no, pretend not to hear them. For most entrepreneurs, no usually means maybe. There's usually something else that you can do. You have more plays to run. When somebody says no, you don't give up. You have to keep on pushing at it no matter what happens. And that takes me to my next story. A few years later, we decided to do another startup, and this time in the healthcare space. So my brother and I got together again, and we decided to build an app that would help people stay healthy, and we would give them rewards and gift cards to do that. Sounds like kind of an interesting idea. It was kind of a dumb idea, actually, at the time, but it was one of those ideas that we decided to put everything into. So we put all of our money into it. We raised a little bit of money, but we put all our chips on the table. Here's another pro tip. Don't put all your chips on the table when you have a baby on the way. My wife doesn't quite know this. She'll see this recording and know this, but there was countless times when I would steal my way out of the labor room to go pretend to get her ice chips, but actually look at funnel analytics and talk to my team about A/B testing. It was hard. And so with a baby at home and my wife in grad school and a very expensive one in Boston, we had a business that was failing. We were running out of cash. In fact, we did run out of cash. We literally had to write checks into the company to keep it going. And you might think at that time that the never give up mindset would get tested, that with our family's financial future on the line, that we would at least consider giving up. It was never something we thought about. It just didn't enter our psyche. We'd conditioned ourselves never to give up. So what did we do? We did the proverbial pivot, and a hard one at that. Instead of rewarding people for doing healthy actions, we decided to try to sell them health insurance, then try to make them healthy, lower their premiums, and somehow make money in all of that. And we were software engineers, we were technology people, and we were now trying to sell health insurance on the internet. Let's put it lightly, we had no idea what we were doing, but we were confident. And that brings me to my next lesson, that confidence is a huge tool to help you never give up. You have to be fully confident in what you're doing. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't listen to people and don't pay attention to the data and change your mind, but you have to be all in on your idea. There's no choice about it. It's binary. And that brings me to this other health transformer mindset, the long-term commitment. For me, commitment is an interesting word because it kind of assumes that you have a choice around it. You could be sort of committed, you could be part-time committed, full-time committed. We hear all the time about entrepreneurs doing it as a part-time thing. To be a real health transformer, to be a real transformer that causes change, you have to be all in. It doesn't matter how hard it is, you have to keep plowing through. And if you're not in, you should get out. But if you're all in, it will be worth it. And it will be hard, but it will be worth it. And speaking of being worth it, that gets me to my next story. So we talk a lot about the idea of having purpose. So you need to have purpose behind your idea so that you can plow through and make things work. Well, purpose for me has always been about this problem in this world of healthcare. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to plan for their future around their health and financial well-being. We don't all need to be expert choreographers and cinematographers to enjoy Star Wars. So why do we need to have the mind of IBM Watson to figure out the future, our financial future, and how to be healthy? It has to be easy. I have one of those thorn in your side kind of passions and purpose. I actually have to get rid of it. I can't stand that it's there. I look across the room and I see other people and I see that same thorn in their side. I have to solve it. And solving hard problems in healthcare are complicated. Healthcare is just full of hard things to do. But I really believe that everything valuable that you do is really hard. And everything hard, especially in this business, is about making other things easier for other people. And solving hard problems gives you purpose. And that purpose is what gets you through the hard times. Purpose is like your immune system. It helps you fight back and get through the times when you're knocked down. There are a lot of things in this country that are not going to be solved with a single app or an overnight success or one idea. Whether it's the future of our democracy, our children's education, or the health and financial well-being of our families, it will not take just one movement. It will take multiple movements to make change happen. And movements are made up of people who never give in and never give up. I believe that the purpose behind what you do will help you get through all those times. We teach our children about failure all the time. You gotta fail fast, you gotta learn from failure. But giving up is a big no-no. Failure is part of the path to success. Giving up is part of the journey to obscurity. I think that every entrepreneur is scared of irrelevance. So my lesson has always been to, number one, don't give up. Don't even have that language. Those words just don't make any sense to you. Second, believe in what you're doing. Have confidence. Confidence is the biggest tool that you have. It will get you through those hard times. And third, have purpose. Purpose will be your best friend in those dark days. I hope that everybody here has that real purpose behind what they're doing. I fundamentally believe that anything that you do in this business and in this space will take a decade to make a difference, 10 years before you actually think that you're making a difference in this space. So I pray that everybody here has purpose and a vision behind what they're doing to help them plow through and get through those hard times, no matter what life throws at you. Thank you.